Hello, this is Dale Matthews, and welcome to Inside News with Mike Jones. Well, with both of us. Hi, Mike.
Hey, Dale. I may be a little off color this evening. I haven't worn this blue shirt in a while, and it has done something to the color situation on this camera that is not quite. I don't know what to do to fix it. I've been playing around with different things, and nothing seems to help it. So if I blurt out something inadvertent, then hit the dump button on me or something.
Yeah, escort all children out of the room because Mike might be a little off color tonight.
That's right.
That's right. That's right. So we're going to be playing. Thursday's the big day of the week for county commissioners meetings, and we're going to be playing for you tonight a really boring excerpt from the Thursday meeting. And I'm not joking. It's boring, but it shouldn't be boring because it's the sheriff coming in to talk with the county commissioners about some of his needs. And remember, we're in an emergency situation. If so much of an emergency, what might they ask from the state, Mike?
They might ask them to come in here and fight off the rebel scum and institute empire policy.
Oh, that's pretty good, Mike.
Yeah.
The other thing was, don't forget now, when they were going to test the water, that they came up with 135,000 from somewhere, and that was readily available. And for 5 years, which is about $600,000, and then it just retreated back into the shadows once again. Wait a minute. Cheryl even said, for reasons that just defy all logic, she even said this could be used for a sheriff's deputy to do patrols, plus a car. Yes, it could. So when the sheriff comes in to talk to them, when he came in on Thursday to talk to them, why wasn't the emergency situation that we're all in at the top of the, in fact, why isn't it at the top of every agenda? It's an emergency, right?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Okay, so Mike had a good question for the sheriff back when he would talk to us. He won't talk to us anymore because we keep pointing out stuff like this. Go ahead, Mike. Show him the video.
As has been stated, the roads in Josephine County are in pretty good shape, and this money that's in the fund and the amount that adds up to varies depending on who you're talking to.
From $1.95 to $8 million.
Right. So,
and in the reserve, not for the daily use.
Yes. So the idea that the sheriff is going to deplete that money and somehow they're not going to be able to fix the roads next year that's not true.
It doesn't match with what they've said. And we also get extra money coming in every year.
Yes.
Now, fellas,
anytime you put gas in your tank, the tax on that gasoline is going into the fund that replenishes their funds. So
will you come on Wednesday? And are you going to stand up and tell everybody what you think in this now political job that you have?
We'll see. I don't know.
Well,
Leave it up there.
I'll tell you what. If you have, watched specifically, I think it's Friday night show or is it Saturday night, where we're telling people, watch the videos that we put up on the budget committee that have Margaret Goodwin advocating for the use of that money, and then go directly to the commissioner's homepage and send them an email and tell them that you want that money to go to the sheriff's department.
Encourage them.
Well,
you don't have to beat them up. Just encourage them.
No, each one of them individually know that I want the money.
Right.
There's no hiding that.
Yes. However, we have seen this happen a number of times where there's a contentious issue. Not very many people know about it, but all of a sudden, some of the people in the quick reaction force that is these people that go to the weekly business session every week, it's the same people every week, by the way, finds out about it, tells everybody, hey, this is going to happen. And then people show up in force, and all of a sudden the board has a different mindset about it.
A complete change of heart. Why we never intended to do it that way in the first place. We've seen that.
And this is the plan as it relates to this money here. We're going to be encouraging people to go to the weekly business session.
And say good, supportive things. Good things. I'm encouraging them to say good, supportive things, Dave.
Mhm.
Well, What more support do you need from us?
Yeah.
None.
Yes.
And I appreciate that. It would be irresponsible for me as the lead public safety official, elected official in Josephine County, not to advocate for more public safety funds.
To sound to you like that's what we're trying to encourage you to do
Absolutely.
publicly.
Your message is loud. Your message is loud and clear.
I'm glad I'm not sitting in your seats, to be honest with you, to make a decision like this. I felt it very important that I go on the record, which is why I'm here today, and do formally request further support from the board. I know you already support law enforcement very well, but I do request funds from the Rural Road Fund Reserve. To the amount is up to your discretion. In law enforcement, we're kind of in a race. Right now, the Jackson County Sheriff's Office is hiring 8 deputies. The city of Medford's hiring 6 officers. And I know the city of Grants Pass is always looking for good officers as well. So there's a ramp up time in law enforcement. And while Josephine County has bridges, I don't, and I need one. And that's why I'm here. I'm trying to stay in the game the best I can with our deputies. And the appropriation of those funds to public safety would increase rural patrols. How that happens, whether it be in form of resident deputies, which do not sit in schools, by the way, they're actually out in the communities enforcing laws and answering calls. That's one way, and it's certainly a direction that I think is important for our county, and something I know that both sides of the levy issue want in some form or another. I think it's irresponsible of me not to at least request those funds, which is why I'm here as what is statutorily called the chief law enforcement officer, of the county. I feel that I need to do that. I know our roads are, as Mr. Brandes said, looking pretty good right now, but I know some of our society and some of our kids and our families are not looking good right now. They need a fix. They need some help. But they don't need it, next year. They need it right now. And so I'm not going to take much more of your time. I just wanted to formally request some of those funds and request some of your further assistance for public safety.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sheriff.
Yeah, you know what is odd? I got to tell you what my immediate impression of that was. Apologetic.
Yes. I'm not going to take up much more of your time,
Yeah, apologetic, and he gave him way too many outs. What you do is you come in there and you go, listen, either we're in an emergency or we're not. You have to put these people, in a posture that they have to defend themselves. Right here, they go, well, thank you very much. And how do we vote on that? That would be no. Thank you very much, Mr. Sheriff.
If he were to pull over somebody that was acting in a felonious manner, which I think these guys are, okay? Would he say to them,
very good point.
I'm really sorry for pulling you over, and I hope it's not too much trouble. Would you mind maybe listening to my tale of woe? No, he would say, in no uncertain terms, look,
of course,
you were elected you said you were going to keep us safe. I've got the way to do that. Give me the damn money.
Right. And
I don't
of
usually
course,
talk that way.
Well, after watching this situation, it really, you have to question the leadership capability there. The leadership capability says, listen here's what we're going to do. Here's what you're going to do for me right now, because this is an emergency. We've all stated it. Now let's live up to our word. I mean, what price does he have to pay to do that? Not very high at all.
And here's the weirdest thing. Okay. We have heard, I think from him, but I know for sure from the Cuffs people, the next little old lady that gets killed, it'll be on your head because you didn't vote to raise property taxes, for almost 20 years. They had no hesitancy in saying that. In fact, the commissioners had no hesitancy in saying that. This guy has a little bit more than a hesitancy and saying that to the commissioners. Well, I hope it's not taking your time. Hey,
Yeah.
Now, we know why he went up there. We know why he did, because after we played that tape that we first had with them, that got a lot of people watching it, and they were hopping mad, buddy. Hey, get out there and do something. These guys are right. Okay, well, it's nice to be right every once in a while. You ought to do something. So it seemed to me, I hope I'm not being too hard on you, that he was a little reluctant to do it in the first place.
Yeah. You know, and it's funny because when Dale suggested this piece of video here for this evening, I downloaded it and I looked at it and I thought, you know, looking back on that now, it's very, very clear that this guy was not on board for the suggestion. However, we made the suggestion, and it was a powerful thing that he would have had a hard time not giving into that, because then we would have railed on him for probably a week for not being serious about this.
This is why he doesn't meet with us anymore. It seemed like we were getting along so well, and we were getting up saying, you need to give this guy the money. Hey, he'll be here any day now. No, and he wasn't coming. He wasn't doing it, Mike.
Yeah. And he, so it's clear that was kind of half-hearted. And, you know, and I don't know why that is. There are two possibilities that I can see. One is that he's just really kind of weakish and not, you know, a great leader that he should be as a sheriff. And number two is that there's some political reasoning behind this that has to do with, you know, we don't alleviate any sort of pressure. I've said this 100 times. It sounds stupid now when I say it, but I think it still holds true that they don't want to take any pressure off of the law enforcement emergency, you know, lest that somehow take away from passing a levy. No worries about that this year. You know, we don't have to worry about them doing that this year.
Well, who the heck heard before we started talking about, because the road funds has been used. They're road funds that are usable for patrols. This county has done it before. Other counties do it on a regular basis. So obviously they could do that. And whoever heard about, we have a pending emergency with striping or with the bridge or with, no, we don't. And nobody had ever heard of that before until it came that we were saying, hey, what about these funds? We could use these funds. Cheryl said, well, we did it before and it didn't seem to make much difference. What? And Rob Brandis was fighting for, you know, I really need that money. Have you been using it, Rob? I mean, it's not that they can't, but which is the bigger emergency? The sheriff's emergency to keep people safe, or the emergency, as Simon Hare said, we have just as many deaths from bad road conditions. I don't mean drunk driving and that kind of stuff, upon which he is an expert, but about bad road conditions. We've got just as many deaths from that as we do from homicides. And what in the world are you saying?
Oh, okay. Well, then let's just shut down the sheriff's department. It's no big deal then. I mean, they're hardly a presence even now anyway. You know, and the only thing they're doing is operating a jail for the, you know, purpose of the city, I guess. So, you know, why don't we just, hey, listen, you know, there is no safety in this world anyway. You know, no true safety
either. Yes, that's right.
Yes, of course. So, you know, why don't we just, you know, why don't we just move along on that, and we can put our public safety money towards having the very finest roads in all of the world.
Okay, now for the really boring piece of videotape that we're going to play part of it and then get tired of it. Okay, and the reason it's really boring is, don't forget now, this is an emergency, and you heard this. Simon Hare is going to put a question on the ballot. Under emergency rules, would you like the state to come marching down here and take over everything? Oh, you don't? Really? Well, I never realized that. Yes, he said he already knows what your answer is going to be, so why is he putting that question on the ballot? It's a beater question. They're trying to beat you into the corner. Here, go over here where it says taxes, taxes, taxes. They're beating you into submission with this beater question, okay? So if it's an emergency, the sheriff could come on this couple of days ago on Thursday, and he could say, you know, I've just had about enough. Or he could be very polite. Oh, I just had about enough, and I really.
And I'll only take up a little teeny bit of your time,
But what I need you to do is, you remember that $135,000 you said that could be used for patrols? Well, I intend to use it for patrols. So give me that. And also I need a vehicle for that, because I'm here to talk about vehicles. He could come in and he could say, here's an update about our emergency situation. He could come in and say, I'm so sorry that your four-pronged levy didn't work, Cheryl Walker, but boy, you know, it sure would have been helpful because we're in an emergency situation. That's not what he said, Mike.
Yeah, and if you take that forceful position and you go, listen, you guys are going to give me this money because I really need this money for doing this. Now let's just knock off the crap and have a vote right here or now. That puts them in the situation where they have to say whether or not, you know, they believe it's an emergency or not. They've got to make a vote on that right then.
That's right.
Or
well, let's have a vote.
Whatever.
Is
you know,
this an emergency or is this not an emergency? Forget about all the rest of it.
Oh, that's
Do we have an emergency or don't we have an emergency? Wonderful thing to say on Wednesday.
Oh, so that's fantastic. So it is an emergency. Let's have the money right now. Come on.
Exactly. Oh, if they say it's not an emergency, if they say it isn't, no matter what
then
they
you
say,
go, fine, I'll go home now.
This is why I say it's like a chess match and a boxing match. It's both. Because in chess, when you threaten the queen, oh, this is getting better. Then and she moves that, and your opponent moves that. Then you take the knight, okay, or you take the joker. That's another game. So it pins them. It's a forking maneuver. That's not what I said. I said forking. It's a forking maneuver, and so but it's also like a boxing match. Punk. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. Prediction, easy prediction. You already know this. You're going to start being hit sooner or later here with even more talk about it's emergency. We need to do something. Why? What are you doing for the children? What are you doing for the police? What are you doing for the jails? What are you doing for all this stuff? We've been hearing it already. But you can future-proof yourself. And your neighbors, please talk to your neighbors and tell them, look, you got to see this boring piece of videotape. What, Dale and Mike again? Yeah, it's boring. But the point is that it is boring. Go ahead and play that piece of tape, Mike.
I'm going to play this forking video.
It is 9 a.m. This is the Josephine County Board of Commissioners Administration Workshop. And we'd like to welcome everyone. We have a full house this morning. First up will be the Sheriff's Office. We have our Sheriff, Dave Daniel. Please come up. And the topic of your visit this morning is the purchase of 2 commuter cars. So,
Yes.
all right.
Mr. O'Hare must be an appropriate person.
Is he here?
He is. Lurking in a doorway.
Come on in. Come on.
He's just here for it's all okay.
Okay.
Good morning. Thank you. Got to run here real quick. I need to attend to outside the alleyway, so I'll try and make this not good issues, and I'll try and make this quick. The reason I'm here is I'd like
won't
to
take up much of your
authorization
time.
to make some purchases on a couple of vehicles, and actually 3. A while back, we received 2 commuter cars in the form of Ford Explorers from Fleet. Good cars, not optimal for commuting, but optimal for patrol. They're all-wheel drive, nice cars. Economical and whatnot, so it was a good purchase. I'd like to take those 2 vehicles and I'd like to upfit them out of my budget into patrol-worthy vehicles with vinyl and all that sort of thing. So that's one. To replace those 2 cars, I'd like to purchase a couple of smaller cars, much more economical, things that can head back and forth to training, head back and forth to the academy, things like that. I don't know whether it be a little Honda Civic or something like that, get 35, 40 miles a gallon, increase my mileage, as opposed to have something that's not as economical. So 2 of those. Third vehicle I'd like to purchase, I'm currently in contract negotiations with the United States Forest Service for a part-time seasonal contract deputy.
Now, he just told us that these were economical Ford Explorers. And now he's saying they're not so economical. So that doesn't make a lot of sense. And second, they want to go to training with cars that get better gas mileage. Yes, sir. Why don't you go to Hertz? Why are you buying a vehicle? Let them take care of the maintenance. And how you don't go every day, do you really, to training?
Well, I don't know. I mean, personally, at this point right now, what's the difference in fuel used between the Ford Explorer and a more economical car? I doubt these people are going to be buying Honda Civics here. So let's say that there is a 5 mile per gallon difference in the, you know, gas is pretty damn cheap right now. You know, I don't see. I think it would take a long time to eat up enough gas to pay for that.
And the other thing is, it was the theme of the show. This is the emergency. They would like to get better gas mileage when they send people off to training. Where's the emergency, Mike?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he did point out that he would like to take these two vehicles that they've been using as commuters and upgrade them to patrol vehicles. Now, that's somewhat interesting, and I suppose that you would have to replace them with something. I'll tell you that I grew up in a family very, very thrifty. We didn't waste money. In fact, my father, in all of the time, in my entire life, he bought one new vehicle, and it was a Dodge van in like 1964. And he never bought another new car after that. And a lot of the cars that he bought were cars that he bought at auction from the county when they were done with them. And he drove those for hundreds of thousands of miles. I mean, he literally drove until the wheels fall off and you park it over there in the corner and sell it for parts or whatever. You know, that's what my father did. And so, you know, when I see that they're, you know, wanting to buy a new car, that just kind of doesn't sit right with me. And Dale mentioned going to Hertz. You can go to Hertz for used cars, and they sell cars that have like 20,000 miles on them. Most rental cars don't have over 20 to 30,000 miles. They don't go over that. They sell them after that. And you can buy those cars at a pretty good discount.
And you need two of these? You need two, because you've got people doing so much training. They're going to go off in two separate directions. Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I mean, I don't know. Personally, you're right. I have an issue with, you know, the sheriff is not, he's not making noises like there's a law enforcement emergency and that they need to get these things handled. And here's our priority for this or whatever. I don't want to be overly critical of the guy, but it does seem as though, number one, he's apologetic again. This guy should not be coming to them being apologetic, because I'll tell you what, people respect strength. They do. And these guys here, that's the only way to deal with these particular individuals.
Until we say goodbye to them, yes. Until we say goodbye, that is the only. And the other thing too is, here he's sitting there, and there have been a lot of people. I don't quite understand this, honestly. A lot of people have been critical of his vehicle policy. Really, I don't know. Well, how much air tire pressure? I don't know. And honestly, I just don't care. But there are a lot of people very concerned about this. And I'm watching this conversation saying, I'm hoping to pick up on something that they've been complaining about. I'm not quite sure it's there. But what I could see is that this doesn't sound like a guy that's in an emergency, that's there to press his cause. And he's asking for commuter vehicles. Really? That's the top of your priorities, to meet with the commissioners today?
Yeah. You know, I to be honest, I don't really know about this. I mean, it could be, you know, I don't know. This is a tough call to make, really. Yeah, I do know it's an interesting thing. I was on my way to town here on Saturday, and, you know, I live, you know, out in Wilderville area. So I have to go through, there's that long straightaway between the Redwood Church and town. And about halfway through that straightaway, or part of the way through the straightaway, I noticed a sheriff's car over on the side of the road. And the first instinct that you have is get down within the speed limit, you know. And yes. I noticed that everybody else around me was having the same inclination. And as I went by the sheriff's car, I realized that car is empty. And I had heard something about a plan to do this here not long ago, where, you know, he's going to take empty cars and park them by the side of the road. That's that is an effective policy, apparently.
Well, that's why you need a spray can that you carry with you everywhere.
Oh, really? What would that be for?
Well, you pull over to the side.
Yes.
No,
Oh,
forget about graffiti. Okay,
Yes.
so I've had about enough of this boring meeting. So why don't we go to our next one? But I want you to remember, please, this boring meeting and the boring things that they said. And then when people say to you, don't you realize it's an emergency? Say, look, I've seen the little back room footage. No, it's not an emergency. Go ahead to the second little piece of tape here, if you will, please, Mike.
Okay.
We had an awful lot of people who got up, person after person after person, at microphones that were saying, look, this is not about a levy, it's about...
Now, hang on just a second. Let me make this observation. Did you notice the big heavy sigh he just took?
I did. Yes, I did.
I mean, is that a resentful thing? Like, why are you burdening me with this? Or is that this a sigh of frustration that I know what you're talking about, and I don't want to go beg my case to these people. I don't really know. I mean, what is that?
Question is leading. What happened to all the people who were pushing for the levy?
Mm-hmm.
How come we don't hear from them now?
Right. Here, let me just roll that back because
okay.
So
well, he's right. That is the question. Where did they go? How come we're the ones that are pulling for you?
Yeah. Here we go.
We had an awful lot of people who got up, person after person after person, at microphones that were saying, look, this is not about a levy, it's about safety. This is not about money, this is about safety. And now all the emphasis seems to be switched over to, oh, we've got bridges that may fall apart in an earthquake. Really? Really? That is now the new priority? At some point, maybe we'll have bridges fall apart? They said this was an emergency, so much of an emergency that maybe they'd have to call the state to step in and kind of take over. Oh, watch out, the state's going to take over. Is the state going to step in and take over because there's going to be an emergency earthquake? What happened to the emergency?
Now, at the time,
it's a legitimate question.
And why did you laugh?
Yeah, why? And the heavy sigh there, maybe in the context of this conversation, I understood exactly what that meant. But right now, when I'm watching, I'm going, what is the body language? Somebody tell us what that means.
This is right around the time he made the decision not to talk to us anymore, because people saw this tape and they went, why is he laughing? A number of people asked that question. What was funny about that question? What happened to those people? Where's the emergency?
Yeah, and the thing is that I'm convinced. I laid out a couple of different possibilities, but I'm convinced that there really is a political issue here, where there are political people to whom you are beholden. If you're in this situation, as the sheriff was, flogging the levy cause. And so you can't really be seen differing from the thinking that has you in that box, and still be friends with your buddies who are also in that box. So yeah, odd thing here.
Now, do I need to vamp for a minute or so while you get 8:45 up? 8:45. I can.
No. Here, hang on a second. I can.
Okay. We've got a second issue to talk to you about, which is something where, okay, you may recall, this is a totally different issue. You may recall that Mark Gatland had weighed in. He was running for something at the time. And there was a family that had gone out to the river, and they had left their teenage daughter watching one of the younger sons. And the boy drowned in the river. And so she must feel awful, and the parents too. But there was apparently a sign there that said, don't let your children drown, or something like that. and maybe a couple of them. And Mark Gatlin felt that if you had more than a couple, you know, I don't know, perhaps 12, 20, 100 signs saying, take care of your children, that if you could just save one life from 500 signs there, you know, obliterating, you can't even see the river because of the signs, that exaggeration, obviously, that would do the thing. But, you know, it seemed a little political to me at the time. I don't know, tuned to political stuff. But is that really, first of all, is that our role? Second, is that really the way we're going to spend the money? You know, so be careful. You know, don't drop your radio, your television set in the bathtub and then sit in it.
Right.
You know, how far do we go with that kind of stuff?
Yeah, and just to be clear, this was a tragic situation. We're not downplaying that. I think the point that Dale's making is that there is no way to be completely safe in this world. You can have that illusion if you want to. You could go to government and say, I want you to institute rules that make me totally safe. And you might get the illusion of safety, but you're never going to get the real safety that you're looking for. And at the same time, when you sacrifice, because you're going to have to sacrifice freedom for safety, that's always how it works. You're going to give up the freedom and you're not going to get the safety. That's a familiar, it's a familiar theme here.
Now, here's the big question to ask yourself as you're watching this next little clip. These people have their heart in the right place. Of course they do. Of course. And they're going to make a presentation on Wednesday. That's why it's topical again, okay? We try to prepare you for this. And the only thing that's happening basically at the weekly business session with the county commissioners and Deanne Basker this coming Wednesday at 9 a.m. will be this presentation and then public comments. Not just about that, but about anything that they want to, supposedly, at least up to this point, until they stop us. And so the theory is that if you make life jackets available at the rivers, provided by the county, see, they keep getting stolen. Go figure. So what are they going to do? Put a long chain on it? I don't think so. Oh, we can't go any further down the river because the chain is snapped. Yeah, okay.
Kid gets strangled on the chain. That would be the thing that happened next.
But here's the big question. If people go to this thing, and they don't find life jackets because they're at the wrong park, or because all the life jackets have been stolen, or because people are using the life jackets, should the county, we're talking insurance now, liability now, your liability, because we pay the taxes. Should the people be putting out there, you will have free life jackets available, and then if something's wrong with a life jacket, or it doesn't work, or it's not there, or they're missing, could then the lawyers for those people who drowned come back and say, let's go after the people with the deep pockets because they said they were going to keep us safe.
This is where this relentless pursuit of security leads you, is to places just exactly the scenario that Dale's talking about, where you something happens, and then because of the fact that they had signs up and they had life jackets, people go, well, I had this expectation there would be a life jacket there, but then when I got Johnny down to the river, he wanted to swim and I didn't want to disappoint him, but it's your fault.
Yes,
it's your fault. You know, look, I can see that happening.
The whole thing can be stopped by putting up a sign saying, don't go in this river without a life jacket, if that's really what you think that we need these days.
Right.
Just put up one sign. You're covered under insurance. We're setting ourselves up for a disaster when it comes to insurance rates. And why are we doing it in the first place? Play this sort of boring video too, Mike.
Okay, legal counsel.
Notice legal counsel.
So this is an MOU that is very similar to one the board entered into approximately a year ago with Middle Road Steel Headers. This one came to the county from the Hidden Valley High School Future Business Leaders of America.
That's a cool group too.
I did speak today with Mr. Cole Tidwell of the Middle Road Steelheaders. We remember him. And he said that the program has been a wonderful success. He says that they lost about a dozen life jackets at the expense of about $100. He says that his organization is very enthusiastic about the program still. And so, anyway, that having been said, I did put this on.
The point of just doing one at the outset was to try it as a pilot. Visiting beer.
Yeah, that's my
point. They were losing $1,000 or $10,000 worth of life jackets. Let's step back and say, how can we make this program work? But that's incredibly encouraging. I know a number of people I've seen when I tour Chinook Park and stuff on a regular basis. People are using it.
Yes.
And they're getting back. So that's huge.
This MOU is modeled upon the other one in terms of legality of it. And if the board would like to consider this matter further, then I was going to suggest that if you wanted to either have me schedule it for a general discussion or next week's business session or a future date, and if you wanted to hear directly from the representatives from the Future Business Leaders of America, perhaps about that organization, about their proposal. And
I would assume a couple of them are here. I've already heard the presentation at the Parks Advisory Board meeting where they endorsed the idea to move forward. What ideally we would do is have a replicable, that's the right word, process for how we do this, because we have a significant number of boat landing and access points to the Rogue River. So we can see over time different organizations trying to come forward and fulfill the need for better safety on the road. So I don't know how much you guys need.
So this is just the authorizing them to go into the MOU negotiations. So I think at the time that it's ready, I think it'd be nice to have the presentation so that there's an update so the public knows.
My concern is the one we have established already. Is that really working, or is it, as you say, they put out 50 life jackets, you only got 3 left, or something? Apparently, so they're pleased with the progress now. I think that's good.
Have you experienced any comments or unforeseen potential liabilities? I mean, that's my #1 goal, is to try to provide a safe area for the public, but also not to look at
Simon's trying to create a safe location for the public. That would be not on the roads.
Right.
Just stay off of the roads and everything will be fine.
I was asked, let me just insert, I was asked over a period of time to give a safety presentation as a safety officer to an organization where we did search and rescue kind of stuff, and especially to young people. And I said, I'm going to tell you that safety is not our #1 priority. What? I've said this before on the show. It's not? No, it's not. Because if safety was your #1 priority, you wouldn't have left your house to come to this meeting, would you?
That's right.
So a reasonable amount of safety is what actually you're talking about, not complete safety, because you wouldn't have gotten out of bed. And even there, who knows? But so the big question here to these guys is, and the reason they're sitting there with the lawyer is, what is the responsibility to the commissioners? And also, how much is it going to cost us? Let's imagine that Mid-Rogue Steelheaders and the Hidden Valley, they're all wonderful people. And the Hidden Valley students, well, they're so wonderful. Absolutely. Absolutely. Their hearts are in the right place. Let's imagine that they were providing all of the money for this. Maybe they are. And buying everything and putting it out there and keeping track of it and replacing the stolen ones. Okay. But as soon as the county gets involved, your county, our county, and says, well, you can expect that these are going to be there. No, don't do that. You leave it up to this wonderful organization.
Right. Yeah. Listen, I'm totally for, if, private organizations want to do this sort of thing, more power to them.
Great.
Yeah.
Mothers Against Drunk Drowning, or whatever, group it is that does this. That'd be wonderful. Right. But keep the county out of the financial liability or potential. And Wally's job is to make sure that we are protecting ourselves against being sued by people who are looking for those with the deepest pockets. Don't get involved in this project. Back out of this.
And see, this would not be an issue if politicians weren't always trying to do the right thing and do the, we want to do good things for the community. Why don't you just stop trying to do good things for the community and do your job, run the county? That's your job. And it isn't, and listen, I understand that some people might misinterpret that statement. I'm not saying that they should, I'm saying they should do their job. And that alone, and let people take care of, the good stuff that needs to be done. I am totally in agreement. If those people want to say and put up a sign, say these life jackets provided by Midrogue Steel Headers, blah, blah, blah. Great. Fantastic.
Absolutely. Totally in favor of that. Of course, it's a wonderful idea. But do you remember when at that treehouse place where the lady was walking across the path and she took a header off of there, and she was a PhD or something and a great earner for her family, and she hit her head, and it did a lot of things. The county was liable because we're supposed to be investigating a place that has tree houses that you're going to stay in overnight. Right. Yeah, I mean, really, the county has to be sure of, and that's what started the famous thing, the statement from Steve Rich, the former legal counselor, who said, ignorance is bliss. Because if you don't know, no, we can't get away with that because we're supposed to investigate it. Because that's the liability that they take on when they say we're going to investigate and keep you safe. Then they're
building codes.
So look at this. What if they get some lower price? I'm not saying they're going to do that, but anybody could. What if they get some lower price life jackets? They're filled full of sawdust or something, look at a great price we're getting. And they drown you rather than saving you.
Yeah.
The county doesn't want to be involved in that at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, you're probably right on that. What is MOU?
Yeah, that's why I was trying. Memorandum of Understanding. It would be it would be an agreement between the county and this group. Well, as soon as you have an agreement, look, I'm not heartless. Of course, I want people to live, and because I was involved for quite a while with the Coast Guard Auxiliary, one of their big reasons to exist was to remind people, look, you need to have your boats inspected, and you also need to have, life jackets. This was their big deal. So. Of course, I see the reason behind that, of course. But what you don't want to do after they've been inspected, you better be sure they're inspected correctly, because then, you might be liable if you did a bad job of inspecting them. You're busy and you don't. So now the county's talking about signing a memorandum of understanding where we're partly on the hook for this. Don't do that. Don't do that. Would you please go concentrate on commuter cars for the sheriff? Don't do this.
Okay.
This places us in more jeopardy than if we left it alone. And you wish them good luck, and you declare it, Steelheaders Day or whatever you want to do. Just don't be involved legally with any part of the responsibility of saving people's lives when, really when you think about it, it's kind of up to them.
Yeah. 28 seconds left on this thing.
Let's play the last 28 seconds. It won't be boring.
Okay.
We'll make sure.
Mm-hmm.
Turn the point.
Liability was something that that wording didn't actually come out right, or that's misleading. People aren't actually understanding. I haven't heard anything.
No, and I did ask Mr. Tidwell whether he had any comments about if anything about the MOU itself, if he thought anything should be different in light of history. Yeah. He said no. He said it looked good to him in the end. Still looks good now, and that's my feeling as well.
Well, that's all it really counts is Mr. Tidwell likes it with the Steelheaders. He's certainly a wonderful guy, and now our legal counsel is going to sign off on it too. Thank you very much, legal counsel.
Yeah. You know what? I don't know. I guess, listen, if this is what they want to do, I'm just a little concerned sometimes when, people somehow have the illusion that anybody can provide total safety for you, because that isn't really true.
But don't put us in legal jeopardy because you feel this need to look like you're going to protect everybody. Don't do that. Yeah. That puts us, our county, in the potential crosshairs of legal jeopardy. Of course I love this. I'll donate money to it, okay? But I don't want my county legally liable for these problems. Just don't. Last thing, we had a discussion before, and it fits in with this too, where someone was saying to me the other day, well, you know, the people they're not voting to keep the children safe in youth detention. I don't have the exact right words for it. Go ahead, Mike.
No.
Oh, and these are kids. Some of them, it's through no fault of their own, and they need a place to go because their parents are goofy or something, or there was an auto accident or something, okay? And some of them are in detention, juvenile detention, that's what it's called, because of their Measure 11 crimes. I mean, they've killed somebody. Some of them are not little angels. They're just, you know, unfairly in this situation. Some of them are the opposite of little angels. And so they said, and the worst part of all is that people voted to give more money to pets than they did to children. Yes, they did. Let's be honest about it. They did. Well, that's not right. Hey, you know what? If you have a point of view and you think that's not right, yeah, and the people have voted in this country of ours that they want to protect their pets, or someone else's pets probably, more than they want to protect their children or someone else's children, that's their vote. And they've said it again and again and again. Well, they shouldn't be allowed to, hey, wait a minute. What do you mean they shouldn't be allowed? That's their vote. Now, you can try to convince them some other way, but stop coming back to us year after year after year and saying you ought to care more about these children than you do about animals. I kind of agree with that, but that's not what the voters have said. So now, as a commissioner, what are you supposed to do? Well, I totally oppose. You totally oppose? The majority of the, you can still try to convince them, but what the heck are you doing telling them that they're totally wrong? They've done that cost-benefit analysis and decided I care more about Fluffy than I do about Jimmy. Mike?
Right. Yeah. I have no problem with what you say. Normally, I have lots of problems with what you say, but in this particular case, in this one exception, I agree with what you just said.
Victory is mine.